Why diets don't work long term. Look, if you've just come off the back of a diet that didn't quite work as well as you'd wanted it to, or you're looking for a new approach to improve your health and you want something that's a bit more sustainable. After being in the health space for over a decade, I've seen so many diets come and go, and getting awareness of both what physically needs to happen, drop the body fat and keep it off, but also mentally what needs to happen in order for you to enjoy the process or really feel in a spot where you can sustain things long term. Because what we're creating with a lot of these diets is a rubber band effect where we can hold on to it for 4 weeks, 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks, but then it snaps and then we all go back downhill. It's the classic on the wagon or we fall off the wagon. So I want to walk you through the two really, really important parts that I see as being a really big issue when it comes to diets, and then what we can do about it instead. If you follow to the end, I'm going to give you access to a free resource that if you can't do this as a simple sustainable habits, then I don't know what will work, because it allows us to really strip back to foundational steps that really allow you to get your body back on your side. So with the massive rise of online diets, we've got to really highlight that these aren't going away, right? They're really starting to attach themselves to this desire to get results quickly. And when we're scrolling through social media, that's the stuff that clicks, and we're starting to see more and more noise in the marketplace. Therefore, we see bigger and bigger promises, right? 30 kilos in 30 days, or, drop all of the weight without changing a thing and keep drinking a box of beer every night. Like these massive promises that get you clicking because it's like, oh, cool, I don't have to change anything and I can now click. And it's a really, really interesting space, and it can be a really horrible spiral if we let it get out of control. And if we're not in control of our own agency around what we click, how we think about health and what we feel we should be able to achieve in what time period, this can be really hard. So the first one I want to address is this diet mentality, which is if you've just come out of a diet and you've been on a really low calorie plan for a period of time, it's going to be harder for you to continue dropping body fat than if you haven't moved, haven't exercised, haven't dieted at all forever, and this is the first plan you've ever gone on. And the trouble with a lot of these diets is they can promise the world, they can trim the cream off the crop with the 1,000 people that go through the program and say, here are 3 people that lost all of this weight. My program is amazing, even though the other 993 of them all felt like they got subpar results. And the trouble with this volume game, and I've seen a lot of coaches churn and burn themselves when they're churning and burning clients in this way, where they work with them for 3 months, they have a set promise, and then it falls off out the other end. And really just getting an awareness of how much mental play that can do for you personally, being like, why is my body not working? Why can I not drop weight? I've created this arbitrary time frame to drop body fat and my body won't change. And the amount of negative associations that we make with food about our own body image around what should be done in a certain period of time can be really soul destroying. And I've seen far too many clients on the other side of that being like, hey, how do we rebuild this? Part of it's physical, but a lot of it is mental and emotional, to really reassociate with foods, getting away from the good and bad food groups, really creating a list of the foods I can never have. One of the things I've really noticed across the board is the cookie does not create as much damage as the guilt and shame that we place on the cookie. So if you have a food that is quote unquote bad and you're stressing about it all afternoon, ironically, that stress is then having that elevation in cortisol, our main stress response, which is now elevating cortisol in the blood. And there's a lot of detrimental processes that are going to gain a lot more weight there than the damn cookie. All right. So when we have this strong diet mentality, and if you've gone on diet after diet and you've got these new rules, keto's the right way, or no, paleo's the right way, or whatever the thing might be, we get really, really confused around what we can eat, and we start to associate this stress with food. Ironically, if we start associating stress with food, we digest it very differently, and you'll just hold on to body fat, even just by looking at a cupcake, right? Or that's what it can feel like. So getting to a point that the biggest problem in this space is if you're constantly following this diet approach, one, you're looking for a quick fix, and two, you create so many strong rules around how to eat that you get really confused really quickly. So that's the first one. I want to dive into where we kind of build on this long term. But the second part to this that I find a real issue is if we're being down this diet route, we've seen all of these promises come through, then you start to create an certain entitlement around, well, what can you do for me? And it gets under my skin when it's like, well, it doesn't matter what you pay me. You can't delegate health. I can't do the weight training for you. I can't do the food for you. I can make it easier. I can make sure you're running the right way. We can look at all these tweaks and nuances to really make the best use of your time, but you are still going to have to make some changes, right? As one of our coaches said to our group recently, you got to change to change. And that's the uncomfortable truth of making any change, whether it be health, wealth, relationships, or otherwise, is bringing awareness back to the patterns, behaviors, and thought processes that have got us to the place we are. Your current state, whether that be financial, whether that be health-wise, whether that be relationship-wise, is going to be based on the habits you currently have. If you don't have the body you have, don't focus on beating up the body, focus on changing the habits. And the problem here is, I just got off a call with a lady who was looking to join our program, and we were having a really nice discussion throughout the process. It made sense for us to look at what this might be in regards to a program moving forward. She said, well, what can you do for me? And I was like, hang on here. This is kind of gone sideways, big folded the hands, very much like, cool, tell me what you can do for me. That's not how I work. So I basically stopped the discussion. Here's a couple of free resources. Go away and see how that goes for you. And if this is something you want to work on with us, then let us know. I'm not in a coaching space. We really pride ourselves in being in a spot where we're genuinely connecting with the human. We're finding and unlocking and tapping into those spaces that allow us to really enjoy the process. And that's fundamentally where I want to go here, which is sustainable health is really about leaning into challenges so that we can stay sharp and young. The highlight here is leaning into challenges. If we're constantly trying to skip the hard part and just look for little hacks and tricks here and there, we simply back ourselves into a corner of not being able to burn anything, right? If we want to drop a whole bunch of weight in 2 weeks, then we're going to go on a really, really low calorie plan, right? It might be 1,200, 1,000, 800 calories. That will make you drop body fat. But what does that do long term, right? You start to suppress that metabolic rate down until you're at a point where, yes, you've dropped the body fat, but now you burn nothing. So just going back to maintenance or what you were eating before, you start putting body fat back on. So if you're constantly looking at these hacks and tricks and tweaks, you can drop a significant amount of weight in a 2, maybe 4 week period. But after that time, your body will adjust. Otherwise, we would just perpetually be able to strip back body fat until we're absolutely ripped and it wouldn't make a difference. From a survival standpoint, that's not how our body works. Our body always wants to stay in a state of what's called homeostasis, or just as is. And unless it's got a reason to change, it won't. And if you make drastic changes like dropping calories through the floor, then your body will make an initial change, but it will adjust over time. And it really only takes 2 or 3 weeks for your body to adjust down to that new level. So if there's no other further modalities, right? If I ask, what are you going to do to drop body fat? You're going to say, eat less, train harder. Yeah, great. That's going to work for 2 to 4 weeks. What next? So having this discussion around a smarter, more intelligent approach to health and fitness and body composition moving forward is more a case of, well, what's the one next variable that I can tweak for 2 weeks to build on this approach moving forward? How can I really get to a space that I'm doing a type of exercise that I'm really enjoying? It's challenging me, but I'm enjoying it, right? Because if I go into a 6-week boot camp class and I despise every minute of it, I might get results at some degree in that period of time, but how the hell am I going to sustain that long term if I don't enjoy it? And this is where a lot of people get into a spot, this isn't working, so I'm going to have to pay a personal trainer. What you're creating there is no consistency with training. You're creating a reliance on having to pay to show up to train. Bringing an awareness to your personal agency of why you want to be healthy, what that actually means for you long term, and really envisioning what that person looks like, what they'd be doing on a day-to-day basis, right? You want to get an insight into what motivates me. I've got a really good vision of what Ollie looks like in 20 years and what he's still going to be doing. He's going to be strong, he's going to be fit, he's going to be lean, he's going to be capable. And all of those things only come from creating a challenge in my day, staying sharp, staying on it, the same way that I'm doing these videos. I do them every single week, so I'm showing up. I need to be learning, I need to be consuming the right type of stuff so that I can really present and create the stuff that I'm proud of. It's exactly the same with health as it is in this content creation, this business space, in the overall keeping mind and body sharp. So this overall space of, if you've gone through diet after diet after diet, or you've noticed this mentality with someone you care about, you've really got to look at some of these nuances of, well, what are the habits that I can actually enjoy? Because if I can't do it every day, why am I doing it for one? Really holding my breath for a period of time to drop the body fat, only go back to reality and actually put it all back on, becomes a massive process that isn't just an overall net benefit or positive there. You're going to notice that if you drop the calories down to drop some body fat, and then your metabolism's down here, you're going to have to take a period of time to build back up. But if you don't wait long enough to really repair the system, you're going to just continue to drop and drop and drop. And this is where after 2, 3, and 4 diets, we've seen people that are, having 1,000 calories or 1,400 calories a day and still putting body fat on, right? Like, that's not normal. Most people should be burning somewhere above 1,800 to 2,200 calories a day just at rest. That's not with the massive burpee classes and CrossFit classes and spin classes added on top. That's just at rest. Being able to sleep properly, being able to move in your day, being able to eat properly, that should be what we're burning at rest. If you're in the 1,600, 1,400, 1,100 calories, or you're simply not eating all day and you're noticing that you're still putting body fat on, it's probably because you're in a space of either 1, chronic stress, or 2, a really, really strong diet mentality that's been with you a long time, right? And this is something that is becoming a massive issue from what we've just talked about before, because we're forcing ourselves into a corner. And until we shift our entire approach, it does not change. Your fault here is not your body hasn't changed in time. Your fault is what initial approach did you take? And when we keep trying to find short-term fixes to a long-term problem, that's where this comes in, all right? So the big thing I want to highlight again is lifelong health is about ownership. It's about ownership of time. It's about ownership of challenge. It's about ownership of emotions. Getting to a spot where you're doing the things you would said you do on a regular basis, whether you feel like it or not, you're getting into a spot where you're pulled by a stronger North Star of how you see yourself, of what that person would do, how that person would act on a day-to-day basis. Because if it's cold outside, it's a bit dark, I didn't sleep quite as much, there's a droplet of rain on the window, if that stops you from doing the thing that you were doing moving forward, then you're constantly going to feel like you're in your head, you're giving yourself the opportunity of not moving forward. And I put this message up in our private coaching group the other week, which was 100% is a breeze, 99% is really hard. What I mean by that is when you're 100% committed to something, the decision is already decided. I'm already going to the gym at 7:30. It doesn't matter how I feel, I'm going to the gym. And now I'm going to be smart about it and I'll adjust my workout based on certain aches and niggles or how much recovery I might have. If it's been a flat out day, I'm going to reduce total volume of my workout. But if I just allow the opportunity of, I missed today, right? Protecting momentum is the biggest part of this. And when you leave that opportunity for like, no, I don't think I'll do it today, it's really, really easy to allow that to slide because the voices in our head of, you can just miss this. It doesn't matter. Nobody's going to know. That starts to really build, and that's what eats away at that consistency overall. So creating that anchor around your personal ownership of time, challenge, and emotions, I think is a bigger part of health that we need to be talking about. Finding those habits that we can really lean into that makes us a better human and allowing ourselves to really lock into what's the 1 or 2 habits that we can really be 100% committed to, regardless of what happens in the day. I do this thing for me, so I show up for me better and I show up for everyone else the same way. It's a whole redesign of self-value, self-love, and a level of compassion for the people you really care about, because you're only half full unless you take some time to fill it. And if we build that up, I think a lot of people get a lot better version of themselves coming out. All right. So bit of a rant today, but just an awareness of what I'm seeing that's becoming a real concern in this culture around dieting, the entitlement that comes with it, the short-term nature, and ultimately what starts to become the bigger issue underneath when we don't fix the whole picture. We thoroughly enjoy working with clients through these health changes because it's not just about the food you eat. It's about how we're structuring ourselves in our day, how we're thinking about it, how we're conducting that overall calendar to show up as our best self. If you want access to where these steps actually apply, rather than like what diet should I be following, which is the wrong question, what steps in my day should I approach to make sure my body's feeling good and able to look and feel the way I want to feel? Comment reset below and my team will send through either the male or female version of our full 5-day reset formula. If you haven't been through this, it's a really nice, simple, foundational series to go through to implement into your own life. It'd take you 5-10 minutes a day for 5 days and it can stay with you for the rest of your life. There's the amount of messages I get being like, this is simplified health for me because I can now focus on the steps that just make sense for how I want to show up. That's the stuff that sticks, not the fancy new antioxidant that's locked into breakfast that magically makes everything else go away. The habits make the difference. The habits of the systems are really what we want to build. So comment reset below if you're interested. I hope this has been helpful to just keep your mind in the right space. There's a lot of shiny red buttons out there promising the world and not delivering. Sometimes we need to anchor back into what are the habits that we've been missing for a couple weeks that we can get back to. I hope this is a helpful training. I hope you have an amazing week. And until next time, keep getting after it. See ya. Bye.